Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the best current teams for each element. And why I do this is because most people are struggling with how to build a decent team, and also so you know who to invest in. So let's first start off with the red team. For red team, it's pretty easy. By far, the best tank for red and is just Princess Anak because she gives a lot of energy and her defense stacking is absolutely ridiculous at 5 rainbow or 3 red. So her definitely. Of course, compressed rock is compressed rock. I mean, awakened rack is also really good, but Anak is a free to play version and she's arguably better than rock. Then for the supports. I personally love using both Hiwas, I mean both Waryuns, so the battle one and the support one. But with the addition of Albelda, I think Albelda is definitely a better support than Waryun. So I would advise you, if you have a copy of her, to use Albelda. She's even good at 0 copies or at just so 0. So if you have 1 copy, she's also really good. So I pick her over Hwaryun at the moment. Then for your damage dealer, Viol is. I upgraded Viol because he was really good at early floors, but at later floors, he falls off a tiny bit, or not even a tiny bit. He falls off pretty heavily. But in the dev notes, they said that they are definitely gonna buff Viol. So currently, Evankel is definitely better than Viol. And also Hajin Sung is also better than Viol, but we don't know what kind of buffs Viol will get. So maybe in the future Viol will be, not, I won't say better, but maybe on par with Evankel and Hajin Sung. So at the moment, I'd say for everyone who started a new account, you can use your maxed out Evankel because you probably got her maxed out, or you can upgrade your Hajin Sung. He's probably a more safe investment than a Viol at the moment. So let's say you pick Evankel, for example, because most players who made a new account will have her maxed. I didn't, but doesn't matter. So then you have 2 spots left. You have a damage dealer, you have a tank, and you have a support. What I like to do in almost every team is to have 2 supports because they will just buff your damage dealer so much, and most damage dealers need a lot of buffs to really perform extremely well. So I like to add in, for example, a Shia because she gives just a flat attack bonus to your whole team if you're red element. So she's amazing for a red team. But Waryun is also really nice because she supports and can deal damage and has decent survivability. So for your last pick, I'd say either pick a damage dealer, so pick a Viol or a Hajin Sung and add it to your squad. Or I'd say you could go for someone who has a bit more survivability because you also need a lot of survivability in each team. So I'd say go for Hwaryun or the other Hwaryun or the support Hwaryun. So if we come over to the blue elements, the character I think that everybody should be using is, of course, Kaiser. Kaiser is the best DPS in blue, and it's not even close. No one compares to her, even in the slightest. So, definitely Kaiser as a blue element damage dealer, in my opinion. I have upgraded Flight Yurik because he was also really good in the beginning and he fell off, but he's also getting a buff. So, if he's gonna be more useful than other units, I'm not sure, but for a new player, I think you should avoid investing in Yurik at the moment. Garam, in my opinion, the best support for blue element, together with Blanc. Blanc is the SSR version, and she's really, really good. But Garam needs a bit more investment to really, really shine. Of course, she's also decent at 0 copies, but when you get her to 3 red, she really starts to shine. And so I think in my teams, I definitely use them both. So 2 supports is great to have in your team, like I said, with the red element. And then you have 2 spots left. This really depends. In my case, because I've upgraded Yurk, I'm using Yurk. But for most people, I think, and most people probably, if you're new, you don't have Escanor. So I think Novik is really nice to have as a tank because he gives, if I can find it, I believe it's his ult. Yeah. So in his ult, he gives physical resistance to all allies who are in the shield zone by 80%. So you basically max your physical resist, which is really nice. And another unit, which is not only a character that can survive super long because of her invincibility for a long time, but also she does insane amounts of damage at high copies, is of course Daramashni. I think this is probably the best team you can build for free to play. Although I have to give some honorable mentions, Meliodas, if you have him, he's actually really good, or pretty, more than pretty decent, I think. But you need him at 5 rainbow, so most people won't have him, I think, at 5 rainbow. And the guy that I want to give a honorable mention to is definitely gonna be Blue Road, because Blue Road, what he does is he grabs one of the enemies that is diagonal to him. So I'm gonna demonstrate it. So let's say you have him, you have Blue Road for here, for example, and their damage dealer is over here. Then you are diagonal to Blue Road, and Blue Road will pick out this enemy. If Blue Road is here, then he will pick out this enemy. If Blue Road is here, he will pick this. In the middle, he will pick the middle one, and to the right, he'll pick the far left. So he's really good, for example, if they have a really insane tank front line and the backline is really squishy, Blue Road can pick out the backline and Kaiser will just delete them in seconds. So I think upgrading Blue Road is also really nice and a really nice investment to do. So yeah, that's basically it for blue element. And let's go over the green element now, which in my opinion is by far the best element so far because of Trauma Ray. Trauma Ray is the best unit in the game by far. It's not even close. I mean, Kaiser's also really good, but Trauma Ray is just on another level, especially when you have him maxed. But before that, even before that, he's amazing. So if you have Trauma Ray, you need to use him in green element. Now we've come to the tank, and I think that Endorsey, the green element tank, is probably the best tank. Of course, you have Zahard, and I also think that doing Zahard with Endorsey is also a really nice choice. But Zahard is a character that can be used in more than one team. He can also be used off elements. So he can be used, for example, in a yellow team, and you don't have a great tank, you can use Zahard. So Zahard is really good on the green team, but can also be used on other teams. So that's up for you to decide if you want to use him in green or in another team. The best support by far for green element is gonna be the Hiwa, the healing flame Hiwa. She gives a lot of heals. She gives buffs. She's just the best SSR. Even at 0 copies, she's basically like Evan. So she doesn't need any investment to work, which is really nice and free to play friendly. I think the second best DPS is probably gonna be Hayuri. So I think investing in Hayuri is not is not a bad choice at all, because she does a lot of damage, but she does need investment. But the same goes for Ren. I mean, if you have Ren below 3 red, he doesn't work that well. I just got him to 5 rainbow because of the summon events. But below 3 red, Ren doesn't really work. But with 5 rainbows, actually really good, and also can go up to higher floors and still perform really good or really nice. And then, of course, like I said, you want to have 2 supporting units. You already got those with Charmer Ray, who's basically a damage dealer, but also a support, and your Hiwa. Then you have a tank, you have a mage, and then you can choose. You can either put in double tank with Sahart, you can go for maybe a high Yuri for extra damage. You could go for another support, but in this team, I think you can use another support. So let's say, for example, you use the Liro Row Kids version, because what he does, he gives magic pierce, and basically this whole team is made up of magic, and magic. So he's really nice to have in your team. Yeah, and the other ones, she's really good for boss battles, but not really for adventure. And these units, yeah, I personally wouldn't recommend to use those at all. She's the Endorsey version is also really not that bad, but you have better options out there. So personally I like to run this team, or instead of him I use Zahart, and I think that's the best team right now for green element. And if we come over to yellow element, I definitely think that the best SSR by far, you're probably thinking maybe Adan or Yirang Yeon. No. The best SSR plus, the best SSR plus is by far Evan. This guy needs 0 copies and will perform almost the same as at 3 red, or literally the only difference, the only power spike he gets is either 0 copies or 5 rainbow. Between those, the difference is so minimal that I personally don't think investing in Evan is that worth it. So just get one copy of him, and he's gonna perform amazingly well. The other support character that is basically universally used is Bomb. He gives so much energy, he gives attack buffs. He's the best, in my opinion, besides Bomb or besides Evan. He's like the perfect pair to Evan as well, because Bomb gives energy, and he can perform his invincibility or his so he can make it so nobody on our team dies, but he needs energy for that. So Bomb provides him with that energy. So that's really nice to have as well. These guys are basically a perfect duo. Then when you come over to the tank, there's not really a question. What's the best tank? It is Donghei Hats. You don't really have another tank. This SSR plus unit, but unfortunately, Daddy Yurik is not really that good. And normal Rock is pretty ass, unfortunately. And then you need to also input damage dealers. So for your free to play, of course, your Hiwa, in the beginning, Hiwa is an amazing character. Hiwa will carry you through all the floors until like floor 30 to 40. But when you come to floor 40, her damage will fall off so drastically that she doesn't perform the same as she did before. So she really falls off quite hard. But I still think that if you're in the beginning of the game, investing in her is just the best or the right choice, because she will carry you through so many floors that it's definitely worth it. But if you're looking at more floors above like 40, 50, then I definitely think that investing in Kun Edan is a really good choice, because he's just an amazing damage dealer. He stuns people. He gives shield. He has a barrier around him which blocks projectiles. So definitely Kun Edan. And then you can also go for Yirang Yeon, because Yirang Yeon has a skill where she groups everyone up, and if you group everyone up with Yirang and Kun Edan performs his ult, then he will hit all 5 at the same time. So these two are also a really good pair to have. And Rock or Compressed Rock is also really, really good. He doesn't fall off as hard, I'd say, as Hiwa, but he also falls off a bit. So if you're going to look like floors 50, 60 and up, I think these two are your main damage dealers for now. But of course, in the future, there are going to be more damage dealers for yellow element. And then you can use those probably. They will probably be better eventually than these two as well. So that's basically it. And the other ones are not really that helpful. I mean, she's a decent tank unit instead of him, but Donghae Hats is just the better one, in my opinion. So yeah, let's go over purple element now. Purple element, in my opinion, is by far the weakest element right now. And that is because of its lack of damage dealers. So with yellow element, you have damage dealers that can actually do like really insane damage. But the only SSR plus damage dealer we have is Dada Mashni. Or Kun Mashni. And Kun Mashni, I mean, she's really good, don't get me wrong, but she does need investment. Like, for example, at two blue, she pretty much sucks. She doesn't do any damage. But when you get her revolution up, so 3 red and above, she's gonna be a lot better, and probably the best damage dealer in purple element. But to go over the main purple units to use, I mean, this character, Hayuri, I believe everyone should be using her, because this is just by far, it's not even close, the best support in purple element. Besides, of course, if you have Gustang at 5 rainbow, then he's better, but this is free to play friendly, and she's the best support, at least in SSR. The second character I think everyone should be using is either Karaka, because I think Karaka is really good, especially at 3 blue or 3 purple, and at 3 purple because of the defense boost. But you can also use Vargarth, because he's just the SSR version and the more free-to-play version of Karaka. But of course, if you get a Karaka up, he's going to be better than Vargarth, because he's an SSR+. Plus. So in my example, I'm going to use Karaka. So Kun Aguero. So for the second support, you have the choice between 3 units. You have Dada Gustang, you have Kun Aguero, and you have Nare. Kun Aguero is a really nice unit because he seals people away. So when he performs his ult, he seals someone and they can't come back until later in the battle. So that's a really nice part of his kit. But below 5 rainbow, I think he's not that good, in my opinion. So would I say invest in him if you don't have any copies on him? No, I wouldn't invest in him. I would rather invest in Nare because of the energies he gives. So I'd prefer Nare over Kun. The reason why I have him at 5 rainbow is because at the time Kun was really good. Although Kun does have a universal attack support, just like Shia for red element. So he boosts the attack by 32% for any purple allies. So that's a really nice part of his kit as well. But of course, if you have a Gustang at, I believe, like 3 green or above, Gustang is probably better than Kun Aguero. So I'd put in Gustang, definitely. And then, in my opinion, the damage dealer that has helped me so much and is still, to this day, I think, I mean, he fell off a tiny bit, but still amazing unit to have is definitely Hoekeen. I mean, this guy, for me, he's perfect. And if Netmarble gives him a tiny buff for his revolution, then I think he's going to be a top unit even at the higher floors. He just needs that little bit of survivability, which he lacks at the moment. And then for your final character, I think you could either go for Vivi, because she does a good chunk of damage, if you have her at 3 red or above. You could also go for Kaseya. I mean, she falls off also, but I mean, most characters do, the early characters, at higher floors. But she's really carried me a lot, and her when she goes invincible, she can one-shot a lot of enemies. So I think she's still really, really good. And you can also go for Reflejo, for example, as a more surviving unit. Or, of course, if you have Mashni at 3 red, I think, or above, maybe more than 3 red even, then you can use her. But for most people that are free to play, you probably won't have her at 3 red or above, I think. So I like to run Kaseya because I have her maxed, so she's pretty good for me. But you can also use Vivi if you have her up, or you could go for maybe another support. You could go for Nare, add Nare to the mix, or Kun Aguero to the mix. So yeah, that's basically it. Or you could go for another tank. I probably won't advise you to do this though, because this is just a bit too tanky in my opinion, and a lot. And the only damage dealer you have is this guy, is Hoekeen. So if he dies, your team basically is just shit. So I won't advise you to do this. I wanted to give you guys also an honorable mention, because a unit that I used a lot in early stages, and if you're a new beginning player, I would advise you to do so as well. Get at least one copy of Purple Assassin Endorsey. What Endorsey does, she jumps into the backline and she distracts literally every character, so that your tanks can move up the field and your damage dealers will stay behind, and you can deal insane amounts of damage before the fight has even begun. So getting one copy of her to just be a distraction and die is really beneficial for your account progression in the early stages. Of course, in later stages, you need 5 characters that are top tier. So in later stages, she's not that useful. But in early stages, that's definitely a great tip to use Endorsey as a sacrifice. So that's my take on who are the best teams at the moment for each element. If you guys have different opinions, or you have tips for other tips, or think other units should be in the best team, you can always do so. You can always leave a comment and tell me why, or give me feedback. I'm always happy to get constructive feedback. And you can also join my Discord if you want to get your account reviewed, or you need any help with Tower of God in general. I'll leave the link to the Discord in the description down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.